So welcome to another exploration into consciousness with Yevna Vohab. Thanks for being here, ladies, on the day of Chinese New Year, isn't it? We've got all the right pictures up in the background here. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit, today's new moon as well, correct? So we can talk about that a little bit and just see how we have been over the last couple of days, maybe. It's definitely something coming to the surface. And I see that beautiful snake image in the back of Tanya's computer there. So what does the snake symbolism mean to us?
Well, for me, when I see a snake, I see like the shedding of the skin, right? So looking at what doesn't serve us anymore and being able to let it go. And really, we do this on every new moon or the day before the new moon. Anyway, each new moon is like a new start in a way for new intentions, for new habits, for new patterns, and for a deeper sense of pattern recognition, I think. We were talking about layers, the layers and layers and layers. And and of course, when a sheds the skin, it's just like the top layer of the old skin that comes off. But that happens how many times in a snake's life? I don't know. Each time the snake grows, it will shed another layer of skin. And it feels like that's what's happening just collectively and energetically anyway. So when I looked up the snake, it also works with the energy of self-cultivation. So the more aware we become of our own like patterns of behavior or old energies that we don't need, the opportunity, I guess, this year is to each new moon shed another layer. And like Sandrine was saying earlier, there's always layers. There's always going to be more layers and layers and layers. And I think that there are so many layers that we have absolutely no understanding of. And allowing that to, come in piece by piece, we gain more of an understanding about our path, about our journey, about the collective ascension journey, about the timeline, timelines that we're on, about the way that we sit in, the universal flow. Like I don't know, I think you can look at it in a lot of different ways, right? You can look at it right here, what's going on in front of you, right, in your personal life. You can look at what's going on in your community, in your state, in your country, in the world in general. But then you can also zoom out and look at things from a much larger perspective. What's going on, galactically in the solar system with the sun, and then back up to the galaxy and back up to the universe, right? We all have the ability, I think, to look at all of these different ways that we're operating in the time matrix that we're in.
Who has seen a snake skin? A shed one? Yeah. I've seen it once. And what was the thing that stood out for you when you saw it? Was there something that stood out for you?
What stood out for me in particular was that it was intact.
Yeah, it was intact.
Yeah, it was the
Absolutely, it
whole
was
snake skin.
intact. Yeah.
It wasn't ripped or torn.
Mm.
And I mean, I guess because it's, organic matter, at some point it will decompose or deteriorate. But what that was the most fascinating thing for me is that it was whole.
Yeah. Was it for you too, Sandrine? Because it was for me too.
Yeah, for me it was the recognition of the pattern, of the scales in a sense, right? Because when you speak of snakes, you would like the scales of a fish, but a fish, he doesn't shed his skin because the snake has a skin, although it looks scale-like, right? And also because he needs it for the movement that it's making. So that is what stood out for me. And yes, so mine that I saw was not completely intact, but it was a big chunk of it still left over. And yeah, it had already dried up a lot in the sun where so it became very papery. But I guess that you actually can use it to so if you would find it fresh, that you can actually make it into a rope-like thing, because it is still, it still has some consistency to it when it's very, very fresh. So for me also, the snake, what came in with what Tanya was speaking is that it's the flexibility, the flexibility of, and then we speak metaphorically, of the mind, the flexibility within yourself being flexible, right? Not to the extent that you need to break, no, not at all, but finding the right undulations to actually maneuver your way through, right? So that is what comes up a lot for me also recently in my meditation. When I'm sitting down, I have changed a bit I puffered up my meditation cushion because it was very flat, and I'm currently not very flexible at the moment, so I actually made it a bit thicker. And then I noticed that when I was starting to find my seat again in it, how I was undulating with it. And that was really beautiful, to go into the meditation with the snake movement, right? And that I kept going for the last couple of days, that every time that I sit down, I first notice and do actually the movement, and come into the undulation. That was really beautiful, and I like that.
That is beautiful. And that's also something, when I saw that, I still remember that. It was like, oh, it doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be like that kind of fight that we think that everything explodes and everything gets ripped off and everything gets damaged. We can actually let go of our old skins, of our belief systems, and habitual patterns that no longer serve us with ease. I mean, I'm not saying it's super, super easy, but it's a natural thing, right? And if the snake can do it, then so can we, right?
I mean, even, like in deers and bucks, they are just losing their whole horns, the whole thing. I mean, and they grow that every year again. So if they are able to invest on a natural, according to the natural habits, so many resources into regrowing these horns, and then shedding them just like that, poof, they're gone, and they decompose into the earth, so even heavy burdens you can shed.
Absolutely.
I'd like to make a comparison, if I can.
Please do.
So, excuse my voice. I have a little bit of cough. I was thinking about how the trees, they shed their leaves every season, and that's one way of seeing the comparison with snake shedding its skin, and some other animals do shedding different things. Some shed their furs, right? But the trees, they would shed their leaves on a regular basis as well, and then they would regrow new leaves, just like the deer would regrow. The buck would regrow the horn, the antlers.
Absolutely.
So it's another way of seeing things, right? Not just animals, but on the other side,
And what does that teach us, Lana, now? Or anyone? What does it teach us? It teaches us to trust that uncertainty. What are we going to be, or what are we going to be like once we have shed that skin? And it's not the first time that we've done it. I think we're just getting to a place now where we're doing it a bit more consciously, because our levels of awareness are heightening, and we're having, a bigger pattern recognition. And we're also having this understanding that going with that universal flow, with that divine nature of ours, is almost like becoming a choice now. It has to become a choice because we're becoming more aware of the artificial side of this hologram, you know, and there are probably certain beings that never shed their skin because they use so much distraction in their life and so much deviation from really finding out who they truly are. And that is really becoming a choice, right? As we are no longer really being in this survival mode, in this fight flight mode. Our, nervous system is starting to, come out of the sympathetic, parasympathetic, in, out, in, out, in, out, and starting to balance and harmonize much more, going with that flow, right? Now,
Well,
having,
and just talking about layers for a
yeah,
second and the collective, right? And the falling timelines. It seems to me that, as much as shedding that I do, shedding of layers when they come up to my awareness, there is also a gathering of layers for people who don't have the awareness, right? It's like, oh, what can I use to cover up? What can I use to hide the fact that something needs to come to the surface, right? And whether whether you're in that 9 to 5 job running on the hamster wheel and, continually like investing energy in other things rather than your own like self-awareness and self-cultivation, right? It's not an easy journey. This journey of life and ascension and realization, it's not for the faint of heart, because as those layers come off, you get layers of programming that come off, right? From the global narrative, from your family, from your peers. Think of all of those things we did to try to like fit in when we were younger. And now who gives a fuck, right? I mean, now we're on our own, each of us are on our own journey. And I mean, I feel really grateful to be able to share that with all y'all.
yeah, and I think you just said it, our own journey. And do you know, as you say, this is not for the faint-hearted. Awareness is not for pussies, as we said before, because our own journey can be an alone journey at times. Not a lonely journey, but an alone journey. And I think, like new moons and everything coming together now with those energies, the surface layer opens up, and then deeply grounded, immature little things that haven't matured yet are coming back again. And then it's the celebratory, Tanya, what you said earlier on, is the celebratory mode to go into and say, oh, hello, I haven't seen you for some time. What can I do for you? What can you do for me? And how can we move on from there or beyond those?
Yeah, that is exactly what I want. I mean, we talked a lot about sovereignty as well. So, shedding the layer for us, in a sense, when you already are sovereign in your beingness, right? That the shedding gets easier. The grieving process of having to let go of things also. The realization that maybe it wasn't needed, is also much quicker in a sense. Sometimes to an extent that you're like, did I let go too fast of that? Right? But then, you can reassess if that was the right choice or not. And probably there was a reason why you have let go of it, and then you just find out that it was the right choice. So, but also for actually those people that are still stuck in these hamster wheels and all need this 9 to 5 thing for survival, because it's something that is in this matrix still needed, you need to have, your food on the table and pay your gas bill. But if that contract for you is okay to still continue that, sure, I mean, that's okay. right? You don't have to shed that layer. You don't have to, you know, it's just how you approach it, from which angle you are approaching it. So if it is your bread and sorry, your bread and butter, well then, you know, that's what it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, my point was not to go out and quit your job. I was just saying, using that as a distraction, right? Instead of allowing that to help you, you know, in your surviving, but also in your awareness, right? That if it's something you're doing for love and for money, you know, something you enjoy, why wouldn't you do it? But my point was, don't let that be a distraction to your own self-cultivation and self-growth.
It's that contrast living, isn't there? It's the perk of living on this planet Earth, you know, and not getting entangled in the good and the bad. And what comes to mind here as we're speaking is the celestial medium journey of ours, where we acknowledge our simultaneous living, simultaneous existences. Okay, Jody. Our simultaneous existence in so many dimensions, in multidimensional fabrics of existence, right? And I remember we were always saying, you know, we have all these soul shards and soul fragments and all of that, and some of those soul fragments are not at the same level that we are speaking here, level of awareness, and they might be quite on a contrary or competitive path, and that can have an impact on us here right now, because we're still entangled with those through, you know, our earlier incarnations and all of that. I think this is where, you know, again, our just the perception has to be acknowledged, that we have to honor all of those. We have to celebrate their victories. We have to thank them. We have to forgive them, the wounded ones. And we have to really, as the avatar that we are here with boots on the ground, we are the ones who have to sort of, you know, disentangle that timeline paradox and bring everyone who wants to onto this timeline, and the rest has to be disconnected. This is the responsibility of the self-mastered individual now, the sovereign individual now. We can no longer carry their luggage. We can no longer drag them along just because comfort, familiarity, guilt, or anything like that.
Yeah. Our ancestors' journey isn't our journey. I mean, it's part of it, but we don't need to take energetics that weren't ours to process in the first place from the ancestral lineage, from anyone else in our life, whether it's a partner or a child or someone you work with or a friend. You know, I see this all the time where people will, you know, think they can help by trying to take or process other people's energy. And you can't. It's not yours to process.
And that goes for your own soul fractals as well, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, this whole journey of getting out of this simulated, well, it's always going to be a simulation, but getting out of the false simulation, getting into that primordial one, into that healthy timeline, into the natural, being connected back to Earth, being connected back to the moon, to the planets, and to the entire galactic spiritual commerce network. Because you see, and this is again why we talk about, well, this is a school, because everything, that 9-to-5 job, that trading, that going to the grocery store, buying some fruit and vegetables, all of that is just basically focused on the earth. But all of that is happening on a galactic level as well. And this is pretty much what we are heading towards when we talk about galactic citizenship, right? When we talk about, you know, becoming the galacticus, the human galacticus. But that is only possible when we do shed all the pain and the trauma and the drama that we have accumulated, all that karma, as we are now going into a time, or we're already in by choice, where literally we don't need to accumulate karma anymore. These are the possibilities that we have now. And that's really exciting, because now free will really becomes interesting and a real choice now. Because as long as you are walking the karmic path, there's no such thing as free will necessarily. Now, talking about this galactic thing and talking about new moon and talking about going beyond this earth, what is the next obvious place to look is obviously the moon, right? Because we as earth beings are completely and utterly, I wouldn't say dependent, but impacted and influenced by the tidal forces physically, but of course emotionally or spiritually even, or growth wise, you know, it all has an impact on us, that gravitation between moon and earth. And of course there is at the moment, you know, they're saying the gravitational force is becoming less. And I've heard two things now. Is the ones is that the earth is being attracted more to the moon. It's coming closer to the moon. Moon is coming closer to the earth, or the other way around. I don't necessarily know what the right thing is, and I don't really care either. But it's quite interesting. And now, how does that, since we have moved into the photon belt, right? Into the sun of Alcyon. So how can we for 1 second believe that change in constellation, that's got nothing even to do with star signs, zodiacs, 13 or 12 months, whatever, has not an impact on us as human beings? And of course, the moon is a very potent energy. It's related to the feminine within ourselves, not gender oriented, but the feminine energy within the man and the woman on this planet. So don't ever now think that you've done so much self-mastery work that nothing is gonna phase you anymore, nothing is gonna trigger you anymore, because everything, the entire galactic constellation is changing. And this is where the other layers are coming through, when we are starting to take this into that consideration. And of course, you know, the other thing is, if you think about it, you know, if we look at the moon, and, you know, we women have, the gender woman does know what it means with our, you know, the cycles and everything, how we are being impacted from a stability, from an emotional, from a pain perspective, from all of that. So we are hugely connected to the moon. But what do we actually know about the moon? We talk a lot about the earth, but if our feminine is so highly impacted by the moon, what do we know about the moon? And I've just, you know, I re-looked at a couple of things, and we have a meditation afterwards as well. We can look at that. But apart obviously from the tidal force, the gravitational pull, that's all going to change. I do remember, you know, during the days with AB, where he talked about the moon as a pivotal point where we had to go to for our galactic passport, to get our papers signed up on. And why would that be? Well, because the moon was, or from what I'm hearing, and that's obviously not anything scientific or something, but very much like all the wisdom of the ascended masters is in the dream lodges of the moon in crystallized form. So all the wisdom, so apparently, and if I remember that correctly, it was as an ascended master, the next level, what you do is you go into the moon lodges. And that's, you know, Tanya, what crystal's all about. How, you know, they're entangled, they're unentangled observers, and they're holding all the imprints of what's going on. So those records there, we can have access to. There's obviously the Akashic records, there's the galactic, the universal records. But what we apparently are doing in preparation for this galactic citizenship, before we can move off the planet, we have to go through the moon to get our stamp, metaphorically speaking. And the moon is obviously related to all these expressions of emotions and drama and trauma, because as long as we carry that frequency of drama, we cannot go off the planet, because it won't be an easy peasy journey for us, and also it will have negative effects on wherever we're going. So this is quite something to start thinking about, to connecting with the moon. And you can do this in dream time, you can do this in meditation, on your walk, when you paint, and just go to those dream lodges, call them dream lodges or call them crystal cities, as, you know, an ascended master in the making, or if you consider yourself already one, then just go and meet your mates up there and have a chat and see what is still required, and add that to your visualization journey and work with that. And then, of course, we have the stability of the moon with, this is actually something I might be chatting to Isa about, because she mentioned something interesting, which I have never heard. I don't know if you guys have heard that. She meant, obviously we know that there's a tilt, right, in the Earth's axis, which is, I looked it up, is about 23.4 degrees or something. Now, I never really looked at that. And we have a tilt in our heart too. And it's the heart's over to the left between 20-40 degrees. And they say to make space for the lungs, obviously, which is, you know, doesn't make any sense to me. But apparently, we need to get back to a 90-degree tilt and then align that. So that's quite interesting what she has to say about that, from, you know, all this ancient wisdom and all the artifacts and things like that. But I have never heard that. But this is another element of when we look about heart opening, heart activation, we need to take these things into consideration as well. How is our heart aligned, tilted to the axis of the earth? And we're obviously gonna try to get some more information on that. But so, and of course, that stability that we're talking about, that the moon is associated with, and we're talking about all this climate change and all this business, well, it's got fuck all to do with us humans. That, of course, doesn't mean that we shouldn't, you know, look after our planet, but it's got to do with, again, the correlation between the sun and the moon and God knows all the other planets and things like that. So again, the picture is much bigger. So if anyone, again, and I'm saying that for, why are we saying that? Just to remind anyone who's like, oh my God, I've done so much work and now I'm still feeling like shit. What is going on? And frankly, it's a reminder for myself, because I had 3 days where I had to continuously work myself into staying in the moment, staying in the moment, staying in the moment. And as soon as you, like, I was driving and I'm thinking, oh, is it going to be red now? And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you going into the future? Just drive and then you will know. So I had to really take this staying in the moment very literally, as a grounded example. And every time I passed a zebra crossing or something, I'm like, oh, passed behind me now. Because that's how it works. And it was so It was a challenge for me to really stay in the moment. So I was thinking about my daughter. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? She's not here right now. You know, and that's how I coached myself through. And then, of course, I do my usual clearing, because if I don't have answers, then I ask some more questions and I just write down what's happening right now. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So this is what I usually do, and probably lots of you guys do as well with your channeling. So that is the energy at the moment. There is stuff coming up because things are changing tremendously fast as well.
Yeah. I think the moon also gives us the energy of the cycles, right? So we were talking about the snake shedding the skin, the leaves, the trees shedding leaves, the bucks, the deer shedding the horns, right? This is all like seasonal, cyclical energy. And we get that cyclical energy with, because of the way the earth is tilted and the way it's spinning and the way the moon is orbiting. Each day we have a different perspective of what the moon looks like, right? We're seeing the moon never doesn't change from its perspective of Earth, right? We see the same side of the moon all the time. There's the light side of the moon and the dark side of the moon, right? Now we have the shadow new moon because of our perspective on Earth and the perspective of the revolution of the moon. But as it waxes, right, tomorrow night we're going to see that teeny, teeny, tiny crescent. And then the crescent gets larger, 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 right, until it's the full moon. And then that is more energetically magnetic because of its relation to Earth. So, talking about like the cycles that women experience, right, with their menses, and the cycles of when is it time to let go? When is it time to have the fullness and bring things in, right? When is it time to celebrate? So I think that the moon can teach us also a rhythm of living.
Absolutely. And the moon is protective. I mean, look at it from a female energy. It's connected to silver, I think. Sun is gold, right? It's the masculine. They call it the sister moon, right? Because sister moon is really protective and anchors in the earth by being there through the gravitation and everything. So it's almost like the moon is holding space for the earth as well. And of course, in all the galactic wars and everything, because of its potency, of its potent energy, there were quite a few of those extraterrestrials, who have been manipulating that energy. So the moon's gone through quite a bit of shit as well. And I haven't really found any, but more than that, I haven't got any transcripts of anything, what exactly happened and things like that. But so the moon itself is menstruating. Now think about
there's, there's indigenous cultures too that remember a time before the moon was there.
Exactly.
So that it was placed there by, who knows what galactic forces, maybe. Andre Hodge, who releases, interesting videos regularly. In one of his videos about the moon, he talks about the moon being the skull of Maldek, which was the planet that is now the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter that was, destroyed in one of the galactic wars. And that skull, so to speak, became our moon, put in place, and like you were saying, it is a protective energy, but it also does cause an ebb and a flow of, you know, of the tides, of the water in our bodies, connected to that rhythm of ebb and flow. And think about like the way the blood ebbs and flows through the heart, to going through the lungs, to oxygenate the brain, to oxygenate the rest of the body, right? There's that ebb and flow, just like the tidal rhythm, the ebb and flow of the heartbeat, which responds to that also.
Absolutely. And there's a video out there, Lunar Code Part 1 or something, Easter has done a couple of months ago, which I had a look at. And you're absolutely right, because she's all about plasma, right? So as we are thinking of activating our plasma bodies here, of course, we need to take the moon into consideration and the significance of really getting more awareness around the moon and its cycles and whatever it's going through has an impact on our molecular waters as well. Absolutely. You're talking about ancient civilizations, and if I remember correctly, there is an Aztec story in that movie that she's done, Aztec wisdom, where they talk about a planet called Tyra that crashed into Earth. If I remember that correctly, that started to create that moon, you know. So there's, depending on which civilization you look into, it's really, really interesting to see. But also the primordial moon, I think she mentions that as well, and by all means do look it up if anyone is more interested in that. Had all the elements, all the 5 elements in the ether element. Because think about it, you know, Lemurian times 55 million years ago or something, depending on how you want to read the time. We were much more etheric beings, plasmic beings. And it wasn't like earth and water and this and that, because everything was enveloped in ether. And now it's like we're sort of getting back to that, obviously not next century, but as we are starting to activate our plasma bodies, it's like, you know, we're gonna start eating less, we don't have to drink as much anymore, you know. We're talking about levitation. So all these 4 elements other than ether starting to have a different significance, and that leads us back to the feminine as well. And this is why it's so nice to have these pattern recognitions, because, you know, it's obviously, we talk about the feminine, we talk about the pentagram, which is related to the feminine, which is related to the elements, which is related to the plasma, everything in there, to the protein, which is, it's not protein, photon, yeah, proton, sorry. So I've got 5 proteins. So this is all that, you know, I mean, I'm not clued up on this, but when I read that or hear it, I'm like, okay, I love that kind of, you know, pattern recognition. Yeah.
I was just, I was curious to see if, I just, you know, Googled when was the moon placed into Earth orbit.
Yeah.
And one of the things that came up was, who brought the moon here and why did they park it in ... And the top answer is David Tharrison Jr. brought it here. He parked it in such an exact orbit because his mother told him.
This is a great answer when you have no idea what to say, right?
I mean, hello. Thanks, David.
Yeah.
That cracked me up.
Amazing. That's the thing. I did start looking at, you know, chat, GTP and Wikipedia, and, you know, obviously that kind of information is limited. You don't get, I couldn't even find Tyra. I did eventually, but, you know, it's, that's why you really got to study, go all the way back to whatever civilization you really, or to the future, you know. That's another way of looking at it. Absolutely, yes.
I mean, I think also too, like talking about distractions, like we can go on a research kick, right? And look at so many things about the origin, right? The origin of anything. I mean, Wikipedia is written by humans and anyone can contribute to Wikipedia. So you're going to find all kinds of truths and not truths in there. But I think it gets back to that level of self-cultivation, like knowing what's a distraction and what's on point for your personal journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Will it serve my personal journey to try to find where I read that indigenous culture, remember the moon not being there and then being there, and there's an oral history of that? I mean, I think it was maybe the Dogon people from Africa, but it could be, other cultures as
Yeah, there
well.
was an African connection in there, by having that Earth, that crash splitting into 5 pieces, which then led to all the pentagram and all of the. And yeah, no, I fully agree, Tanya. This is why I love people like those master decoders. They could do the decoding, and I just watch it.
Watch it and benefit from
Benefit from
their
it
exploration.
and celebrate it and spin it into different kinds of directions. And this is the beauty of cultivating a community that contributes to us, right? And yes, you're absolutely right. There is a distraction element of that whole thing too. You can get completely and utterly distracted into that sort of seeking, finding, and all of that. Absolutely. And this is where we obviously have to go back and then see, okay, balance. What is required right now? And I think these are the cycles. I mean, I certainly, I'm a bit intense when it comes to my cycles. I can go like, I don't know, 500%, and I forget everything else. But then all of a sudden something stops me and says, okay, stop right there. It's like wave. For me, it's like the waves, up and down. And I get really sort of slightly edgy when I'm down the wave, because like, okay, well, how long is it going to take to get back up there again? So there's this present moment teaching, and that really, really allowing yourself to. And I think also the other thing is, we were talking about contrast, because you do see other people still doing certain things that you are no longer doing, right? And then there comes this self-doubt in a way. Oh, I should be doing more. I should be doing this. And of course, when the shoulds and woulds and becauses and all of that pops in, and no. Something is sidetracking you right there, Absolutely, yeah. Oh, it's all good.
I like your analogy of the wave, right? Riding the wave, rolling under. I mean, if any of you have ever swam the ocean and got rolled by a wave, and spun in that cycle, you just think, oh dear God, when am I going to come up for air? And you will. I hope you can hold your breath. But yeah, that information overload can drag us under, right? To keep us from our breath of life. So there's got to be a balance there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do remember very distinctly how dangerous it is trying to get underneath the waves, because I almost killed myself in South Africa on a jet ski at the time. And I still remember thinking, should I go on top or underneath? And I'm like, fuck it, let's go underneath. And no, can't shortcut. You can't cut the journey short. And yeah, sometimes these are the lessons we have to learn,
Yeah, and sometimes we need to learn them the hard way, hardest way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And having said that, those were still the days where things were happening. Because it's interesting when you get towards the dharmic journey, sometimes it slows down even more. Because what's percolating is actually so different that everything around you has to adjust in order for it to materialize. Having said that, we talk about instant manifestation. Yes, of course, we have the capacities, but then, you are living in a participatory universe. So what kind of environment have you put yourself in? And it's not just the people that you're living with, it's, the town, the city, the country that you're living in. And then, of course, with us having a perception of what's happening worldwide, all of that puts a slight, break on those explorations. And then, of course, we're not just living on Earth, and we have everything else to take into consideration as well. And that is really the invitation to cultivate disentanglement and sovereignty. So it's like a continuous, a perpetual outcreation of, okay, that entangled, disentangled, observer, unentangled observer, entangled observer, and enjoying every single moment of every state that you're in. Isn't it? Isn't that what's the saying? It's the response that you give rather than what's happening, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we can be in a state of worry about what's going on in the world, about what's going on in our lives, about what's going on in our relationships. There's a lot of worry and frustration, going on, I think, here in the States, especially, I'm in San Francisco, a very liberal place, and we have a very different, political environment than that right now. So I think, worrying, is it really within your best path and highest purpose to worry about what's going on? Because it's going to change in 4 years anyway, right? But there's a deconstruction that's going on, right, in the political sphere here in the US. And yeah, maybe that's needed to happen for a very long time. It's like deconstructing the layers in the energy field. What do we need to let go of? What can we keep? What is important to, hold here? What do we throw out? And what is important to recognize and keep, right? I mean, we're always keeping our spirit, our soul. But as our journey progresses, it's like, what are those extraneous things that we can let go of? What are the distractions? Not to say don't be distracted by fun every once in a while, because that helps to feed our knowledge and our zest for life, right? If we don't have that, then what's the point, right? If we can't make it, like you said, make it fun.
Yeah.
Celebrate, do the work, and then celebrate.
Yeah, as within, so without, isn't it that? What's
Mhm.
happening outside, reflection of what's happening inside in the collective, obviously, and that kind of stuff.
Well, and that energy of worry, just spins around, spins you around, spins you around, spins you around. Like, if you have the power to change it, change it. If not, let it go.
Yeah.
And just hold your own space, an energy field, your plasmic field.
Exactly. Well, before we came on, I just thought, well, he's abolishing income tax. Hello. Lucky bees over there.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I got to speak to Keir here. Keir Starmer with what's going on. We need to abolish income tax everywhere.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Well, it just means that they're going to raise property taxes, right? Because
Of course, yeah.
yeah.
But let's look at this actually from a pattern perspective, you know, being taxed for your income. And I mean, you know, pretty much every single one of us cannot remember a time where that didn't happen in one way or another, right? So that is part of the energy harvesting, isn't it? Really, harvesting money, which is part of your energy. So that if it comes through or not, it's irrelevant at this stage. But that is something going in the right direction in terms of no longer having your energy harvested, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking, you know, it's like, what if everything that's happening in the world, that's happening in your house, that, you know, in your family, whatever, what if everything is a code that we can use and decode? Everything that you buy, you know, and you just buy it, and, you know, you don't really think about it consciously, and then you, oh, why did I buy a green one? What does green symbolize, you know, and things like that, to really make this this pattern recognition and bring it onto a different level beyond, you know, emotional turmoil and chaos, and really use everything, because everything is, I mean, look at my cup. How can you see my cup? So, I mean, I love those cups made by children or by people who have problems, you know, making proper cups. So this is all like, and I mean, why do I like that? What does that say about me? You know, the size of it, the weirdness of it. Again, we've got the green, you know, and things like that. Talking about fun, I mean, you know, that is my kind of fun. I know it's a bit weird, but, you know, this is a whole nother exploration. What is fun for you? You know, that is something, you know, to literally.
Well, I mean, that's a handmade thing, right? That you have your cup there.
Yeah.
And when you're working with a handmade thing, just like, you know, when you're attracted to go to the car boot sales, right? And find things that were owned previously by someone else, right? There's an energetic signature on that piece that you're responding to.
So, okay, let's just use this as an as an exploration here quickly, because of late, when I wash my hands, I've become very aware of washing my hands this entire week. And I'm like, why is this all of a sudden of interest to me? Not to make sure that, you know, get all the bacteria off. It's just like, what is that? There's something that has been quite interesting for me. My hands have become more interesting to me, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? And then I was thinking, okay, well, we got, you know, our eyes and the palms. And as you say, Tanya, when I go to the markets and any shop, I always have to touch, you know, and I take things off, and I'm like, and then put it back. As soon as I touched it, I put it back. And I'm like, couldn't I just like look at it? No, I have to touch it, you know?
Right. But you're touching that energy signature. And if you're touching it and leaving it, then you're getting what you need in that moment. If you're touching it and then saying, I must have this, then it's going to be an unfolding for you. I mean, that's sort of how I feel about rocks and crystals, right? When I'm working with a crystal, it has its own specific energetic signature that maybe is what I need in the moment. Right? Like the crystal, I have a card deck with crystal card deck, the liquid crystal oracle, and the card of moonstone came up. Here's a nice little moonstone. This is for our talk today. So of course it's a new moon. We're talking about the moon, we're talking about cycles of energy. The moonstone connects to the energy of the mother goddess, that divine feminine within, right? And so why did moonstone come up for us today? Maybe because we're connecting with that divine feminine energy in the darkness of the new moon. It's almost like the womb space, right? That space that can be seeded for new creation. That dark side, the shadows. Yeah, I saw that one of the things that's been up for me in this 13 cycle, this waveform cycle, is being in between spaces, being in the like the liminal space, working with the energy of the raven in this 13. The raven, just like the jaguar, the black jaguar, sort of sits on the edge of the space of, the space of the underworld and the above world, right? Between the light and the darkness, between that energy of the in-between spaces, where you're not one or the other, you're both at the same time. And this is just an awareness that, that I've been working with, over the past week or so. So, being in that inner space, which isn't dark or light, and being able to use the energy of either, right? Using the energy of the new moon, the darkness and the shadows, and the seeding of energy, and also using the energy of the full moon, allowing that fruition and fruiting to come into manifestation. These are just things that we can all work with and play with. And it must be up for a lot of people now, because I'm seeing it in the client work I've been doing this week and last week. I saw Isha posted, something on the jaguar, which is talking about the same, that same energy. So, like, what are those spaces that we go into that is almost like a suspension of energy, where we can hold that space for ourselves, and everything can be there. Everything can come, anything that you need. And then again, what's the distraction and what's not, being able to sort that out in a way that's beneficial.
Yeah. And that's maybe also where my hands come in, because, this is where the hands come in, because we create with our hands, right? We write, we paint, we eat, we heal, we touch. So this is where maybe that's what this is, and there's this appreciation again of being a human physical being, to be able to do that.
Well, and the hands also, when you look at reflexology, each part of the hand is representative of a different part of your body. Right. So I always say, if you have a cold and you're really stuffed up, the ends of the fingers and the ends of the toes, that's the rub that clears your nose. So if you're congested, here is where the sinuses are responsive. The brain, right? Your intestines, this is the right hand. So then you have the liver here and the lungs, so you can work with your hands. And as you're massaging your hands, your whole body is responding. And likely your energy field is responding also. I've never seen or heard of a map of like the chakras mapped out to the hand. But I think in that larger awareness, that microcosm is the macrocosm, right? The hand responds to your body, that responds to your energy field, all the layers in your energy field as well. And all of those parts of you, those soul shard parts of you that are coming into your awareness.
Exactly.
And don't forget that the hands are actually the extension of the heart as well.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yes. Good point. Hmm. Well, we got the 5 again, you know, the 5 elements. I'm sure there's, and I think every finger is also connected to a particular planet, isn't it, as well, or something, you know? Interesting. Well, I mean, and that would all make sense in terms of grounded spirituality that we're talking about, isn't it? And the celebration of the body. Because that's also what's come up for me in the last couple of, you know, days, weeks, maybe, to, you know, how can I support my physical vehicle better, you know? Because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, you have to support your physical body, right? In order to keep doing, being, going, experiencing. And that is, our body is the vehicle of experience, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Interesting. Whew. Lana, you still there?
Yes, dear, I'm still here. I'm just listening. I'm drawing lines in a notebook.
Oh, good. You're doodling a little bit.
I'm not doodling, I'm just drawing lines in a notebook.
Oh, okay. Drawing lines.
Lana made a note in the chat saying the John Lennon song Imagine came to her to imagine a different world. So that's it's a really great time to do that. I know one of the things that's going on in the world that has come into my awareness because my husband is there working on a documentary is that the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz was this week. And there were all kinds of people who did a celebration there on Sunday. I think King Charles was there, the president of France, all kinds of, you know, people. And what he's been doing is following individuals who had ancestors who were in those camps. So I'm not sure exactly what that will turn into, but you know that you talk about the word liberation, and today is a spectral day in the galactic calendar, the tone 11, which has to do with energetic liberation. And you know, I think about the way that this history is very preserved in that space, that they're celebrating the liberation, but everything is still constructed exactly as it was, as almost like a museum, as a memorial, and holding the energy in place, even though it's been liberated for 80 years. So I thought that was very, very interesting. It's like, is it liberation if everything is preserved and held in place? And of course, you know, this is something we need to remember not to let that happen again, right? So yeah, it was just a very interesting reflections.
It is a very delicate matter, you know. And I would say, and I said this the other day, it's like as long as you have to carry on telling the story, there's something unhealed.
Yeah,
And
I think that's a really good point there.
but I would agree with you that these things are locking those energies in at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely more healing, and I'm sure, you know, whatever your husband's doing will help that.
Absolutely.
Bring it up.
Yeah, he's a great transmuter of energy.
Yeah.
He
Amazing.
and the team that he's working with.
Yeah, and of course he's got you on the other side. You're working with him, irrespective
I
of.
sent him with crystals also, so
Yeah.
that'll help.
No, I mean, you just did a
Yeah.
ring work anyway. I mean, I see that, how
Mm.
we do that, right? Absolutely. Well, interesting. Might bring some shit up for him too.
I'm sure.
Interesting choice to get involved in something like that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, as he is going on his journey, you know, I'm holding space here.
Yeah.
To stay in my own energetic flow. Kiki and I.
Yeah. And that's really important for people to grasp what you just said, because you can hold space and not get entangled and still hold your own. And that's what the sovereign master does. That's the feminine, the pure feminine energy that is just a container without getting contaminated at the same time, whatever liquid comes into that container, because you're source connected. So whatever space you're holding is the source energy and the primordial source energy that you're making available, you know, through you as the instrument of experience, as the instrument of the space holder.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know,
having that, go ahead, Lana.
yeah, Martina made a good observation on what you said, and I'm thinking that somebody else mentioned the suspension of energy. It's like, you know, they're holding that energy of the past in place, and they keep repeating it in your face all the time. So the energy doesn't get to break up. It doesn't get to resolve itself and go into its native nothingness again from the past, but it's held in that suspension. And so it gets thrown in your face over and over and over, no matter how much some of us try to, work out our own salvation and leave that dirty energy behind us, and move forward. There are those that will keep holding on and suspend that energy in place. And that's why the world is where it is today, I feel, you know. And the world is just seems like right now it's suspended. And every dirty part of the energy is just bubbling up and bubbling up in our faces. And even those who are working for the good of the world is feeling the pressure of it. But then you know what? It comes a point when the pressure cooker is so full that it has to let that steam out. And what happens when there's steam? The sun plasma comes in and dries it up, right? That flow from the sun, the heat from the sun, dries that steam up in no time at all.
I mean, the story is so big and involves so much more than just that, and it's playing out right now on the world surface, and not just surface, below the surface and above, you know. And I think it's probably one of the bigger chunks that the collective still needs to shed, work out, forgive, and all of that. But you know, you have an awareness when more time is required, and all one can do at this moment is allow people having their karmic resolution journey, and you can, you know, place some more seeds and then just basically remove yourself. And that's what space holding really is. You have an understanding of what is required right now. It doesn't mean that you have to do it or be
Right.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, well there's, you know, and that's just part of, I didn't even know there was this, oh, there was a couple of, I've seen a couple of things going on around, you know, those healings to happen. But anyway, yeah, and that's what we're here for. to hold space for that, you know, because frankly,
Mhm.
we've been there, we've done it, and we've probably healed already. I mean, I had, you know, lifetimes there where I was part of the SS, but I was the Jewish girl there too, you know. So I literally actually do have recollections of that. It's very close to home.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, but I seem to have, you know, sorted that out because of in this lifetime, I cannot recall having been drawn into it. I've even been there at the
Mhm.
time. I think it was a school visit, and it was, I don't know, maybe I wasn't perceptive at the time. Of course, I was perceptive at the time, but I had, obviously, I didn't get involved then at all. I didn't feel anything
You didn't feel the karmic entanglement any longer
at all.
because you've healed your part of it.
Yeah. Okay, I was a young girl at the time, but also I think maybe you know, I've got this rebel thing a little bit, and I think what you just saying with this liberation, I don't necessarily work along the lines of, okay, let's keep that going. And I think when I was there, I was obviously saying, okay, let's move on from here. That must have been my contribution as a youngster going there. You know, let's acknowledge, let's do the healing work that is required, and now let's move on.
Yeah, and I think that you know, listening to your comments over the course of time and knowing you for what, like for such years now, um, I feel like you know, that's just who you are, right? When something is in front of you,
Yes.
it's in front of you, and then you move to the next thing, right?
Yes.
You're not dwelling on whatever that one thing was. You're
No.
moving on to the next thing, right? Seeding and creating and seeding and creating. Yeah.
Yes, you're not suspending the energy in place. You're just doing the next thing. So you
I'm
let
like
that energy flow away.
it's almost like a bloodhound. I'm like a bloodhound.
Yeah.
You know, I welcome it because it's. I wouldn't say I welcome it. That got me in the wrong when I still said I was welcoming it. You know, that puts you in the wrong side of receiving. But it's my kind of fun, to be honest. And that took me many, many years to realize that analysis, that I have the capacity to go right to the depth of the issue. And that made me or makes me an amazing facilitator, but it also makes me someone that not everyone can work with because not everyone wants to go straight there.
You have your style, Martina. You have
I
your
have my
style of
size, like
working. Yeah.
like Emma says, Mama, you're cutting out the grieving process. Let me grieve. I don't need a solution. I said, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's like, let's bypass that process and go straight to the answer.
Like, what is that?
Do you read the last page of a book when you get the book too?
I
Just
never
jump to
get,
the end.
I get halfway maybe in a book.
Mhm.
I don't even get to the end. Sometimes I read just the last half. So I feel like I've accomplished something and skip again. It's just yeah. And that's what I do with movies as well. When you know they started watching and I come in half an hour later and say, no, you can't watch this now. I said, why? Well, of course I can watch this, you know. I don't need to know the beginning in order to know what's going on right now. So yeah.
Have you been watching the series I told you about, Younger, on Netflix?
Oh God, no, let me put
Okay.
this
You'll enjoy it.
finger.
Tanya, you'll enjoy it too.
What about that? Maybe it's not on. Yeah.
No, it's on. It's on
It's
right now.
on
It's
Younger.
recently added.
Maybe I have watched. This is the one thing
You're gonna want to binge watch it because I
I
binge
probably
watch
have
it.
to binge like 3 episodes to realize, oh, I've actually watched that. I'm very
Mhm.
good at that too. And I
Each
said,
episode is like 22 minutes or so long. It's not
right,
very long,
okay, well, I definitely it's in my
but
notes.
it's very interesting. enjoyable, you know. It
Good.
depends on your style of what you like to watch.
Yeah.
But I thought it started out pretty interesting, and
Yeah.
you know, it's 7
Good.
seasons long.
7 seasons. Yeah, that's good. I need a lot
Yeah,
of pitching at some point.
Tanya, you'll find it, as I said, interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. It hasn't come across my purview
It's
yet.
it's on Netflix. It's recently added on there.
I just watched all of the Star Wars series.
Mhm.
So I'm caught up with all of that, all of those stories now. And you know, it's interesting since like I think about the first Star Wars A New Hope that was released in 1977 that George Lucas did as almost like an independent film. It almost didn't get made. And then people went crazy over it. And then after the release of the next two movies, you know, then Disney ended up buying the franchise. Lucas sold the franchise. And then the other movies were made. But then all of these series, like The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, Tane, you know, all of these different series sort of like fit in to that series. So the one that was sort of like most interesting to me was called Acolyte, and it's not going to have a second season, I guess, because of finances, but it really talks about how, you know, the Jedi, this one particular force, was controlling all of the force magic and wasn't allowing anyone else to use magic. And so it ends up these twin sisters, you know, sort of like one becomes a Jedi, one becomes uh, a witch with her ancestral lineage. It's just really, really interesting. I feel like that really spoke more to me than the other ones and
What's the
spoke
name of that
about
one?
Acolyte.
Acolyte.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
I've been
talks
watching
about that
a
difference
lot of them, but
between
I didn't catch it
the
all.
darkness. Yeah, between the
Mhm.
darkness and the light. So I thought that was really interesting.
Do you know, I've never watched Star Wars, and I
Mhm.
find it quite funny because I'm so interested in all this ET stuff, and I've never watched Star Wars. I can't watch it. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
very weird. Maybe I
In
should.
the beginning, I couldn't get the Star Wars like years ago, but now I find it interesting. I'm
Yeah.
beginning to enjoy watching him. I enjoy the Mandalorian series.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
the first season of that, but then it kind of got more about battling
Yeah.
everything and the
Yeah.
journey of the little Grogo guy.
Mm-hmm.
Martina, you won't like it. I'm not saying you won't like it. It's just like, because actually in Star Wars it's not about the aliens, so that's all.
Oh,
It's about everything else but the aliens. Which is
Well,
why
it's
they
about
added more. Which is why they added more in the remakes, right?
Yeah, a lot of different galactic species for sure.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that
I
is
mean,
also
it's the
what
hero's
Lucas.
journey, right?
Yeah,
The
no, it
hero.
is absolutely no. It's the absolute. It's a tradition in hero's journey, and which I think that actually the spin-offs now through these side series, that they're actually going more into the heroine's journey, you know, the heroine in a sense, like, you know, she's the one, and it's not a she, it's again not the gender, it's just the hero's journey is the one where, you know, you go into the battle and you win and and the heroine's journey is more like you yes, you break down, but then you go and seek alliances, right, to actually build up your team to conquer, you know, whatever you need to conquer, or to survive whatever you need to survive. And I think a lot of these spin-offs there, and I see it also with other things, are more like, you know, turning this narratives a little bit away from this only, you know, the hero's journey, but more into this allowance of team working, you know, stuff like that. I think it would even, and this is one of the first, what I found very funny is that they gave Jabba the Hutt, you know, the sister, the female Jabba. I really love that one. Or the twins. Was it the twins? Something like that. I think it was in the. Was it in the Mandalorian? I haven't watched.
No,
any
maybe it
because I'm
was in
not
Boba Fett. I haven't
that
watched
Boba.
that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, could be, yeah.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, really, because you know we're coming from the karmic journey onto the dharmic path. So yeah, oh, that's well done. I didn't know that was called heroine.
Yeah, the heroine's journey. I can. There's a book on it actually, if you want.
No, I want.
No.
But
I'm okay. No, what I do something else. I do something else. No,
okay.
because I just remember. Yeah.
Girls, let's do the moon meditation before Sandrine.
Right.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just do that. Yeah, and I've got it here.
Right. Perfect.
That out, and it's maybe a good idea today to do that. And we talked about a couple of those things, so just close your eyes. I'm just going to read it down here. Just take a deep breath, or keep your eyes open. It's entirely up to you. Just allow yourself to relax and connect with the energy of the moon. New moon, full moon, whatever works for you. And then just consider that moon as a divine counterpart to Earth, representing the feminine energy and intuition within yourself. Just as the moon guides the tides and influences the natural rhythms of life, your inner moon can help you tap into your emotional intelligence and connect with your soul fragments that still slumber in unawareness. Embrace that lunar energy within you, allowing it to guide you on your journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Engage with the moon's gentle and nurturing presence, cultivating a deeper connection to your intuitive wisdom and knowingness. The moon is a powerful energetic being, and its energy, like ours, has been misused and manipulated by many species and forces over time. Now visualize yourself standing on the surface of the moon, surrounded by the crystalline dream cities, built by the ascended masters who have walked the earthly grounds before us. And find your center amidst the powerful whirl of sound waves, like a skilled skateboarder navigating the sky, proving to yourself that you have gained mastery and control over your emotional and physical experiences during all these different times in your lives. Let the moon be your guiding light as you navigate the depths of your soul and uncover the hidden treasures within. Feel that feminine energy of the moon washing over you as it protects, anchors, and holds space for you and for our planet Earth. It supports and nurtures our galactic mission and connects us to all points of human expression and experience, deepening our inner wisdom and knowingness. As you explore the crystal city, feel the ancient memories of your soul awakening within you and embrace your gravitational and cyclical expressions in your everyday life. Now connect with the immigration office of the moon, offering your skills and contribution to assist in the incarnation process and passport controls for the journey to the stars. The moon is a cosmic gateway, a step to get your immigration papers cleared. Feel the peace radiating from within you as you recall your work of resilience and growth towards creating harmony within yourself for all past and future generations. Take a look into the galactic records piled up in the moon's chambers and gain clarity on your soul's journey. Remember your previous experiences in the moon lodges during your sleep or awake times. connect with your already ascended beingness in the moon and send healing and clarity back to your earthly and other dimensional selves in order to ease any physical, mental, or emotional turmoil. As you meditate in the moon, embrace your role as a celestial medium and multidimensional citizen, using your knowledge and experiences for the greater good of mankind. Allow the moon's energy to guide you on your path towards human awakening and galactic citizenship. Take a couple more breaths, and when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and then carry that peaceful energy of the moon with you as you continue on your journey of self-discovery and healing. Yeah, are we all good? That was a quick one.
Using the moon as a guide, that image, I was seeing also, the image of the Star of Bethlehem, right? The star that the three kings followed to find where Christ was born. And they used that star to triangulate, to follow. And that just made me think of what you were saying, to use the moon to guide you on your journey. And that light of the full moon, you can navigate, right?
And
when there's no light, it's harder to navigate.
And you're spot on. You're spot on to that, because the three stars of Bethlehem are very much connected to the three stars of Orion. And Orion's belt is then, once you come through the moon, you go through Orion's belt out. Exactly. So you're spot on. And that's all connected. I just listened to something today. I actually posted it in Facebook. Very interesting. He's talking about that alignment of the three stars of Bethlehem to the Giza, to the Giza pyramid, because they're now starting, I don't know, some whistleblowers talking about Osiris or Moses being coming back to life. They found some I wouldn't say mummies, but bodies in those various places. I think it's a 2-hour video. It's very interesting what this guy's got to say. But he made exactly that alignment. So you're right on there, and that is actually very nice. That's actually very nice to know that this is why the moon is the passage, the cosmic gateway, where we're getting our immigration papers, basically saying, yes, you've done your self-mastery and sovereignty work. Here is your passport. And now off you go, Orion's belt and out. Beautiful. Thank you for that, Tanya. That's
The galactic Staten Island.
yeah.
Or Angel Island, depending upon
Angel
which
Island.
coast you're on.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, and I mean, all of that, is this distraction, or is this just adding to our level of visualization, to help us really?
You have to go through the imaginal. I mean, to actually get an anchor point on it, you have to go through the imaginal, and visualization process.
Visualization, yeah. And you know, we're getting to a stage now where it's no longer imagination. You remember we talked about this. It's like, no, it becomes real. And now the realness comes through all those decodings that there's so many decoders out there. I mean, this guy is David something, you know, I'll put it in the chat afterwards. But the way they make the connections, it's just like, whoa, okay, cool. And then, you know, he's been given a number by his dead wife. He woke up and he was given a number 591 or something. And then he started dividing it by the golden mean. And all of a sudden he had this whole spiral of the golden mean going with all the different planets and with the pyramid. And then I was like, whoa, amazing, amazing. I love it. And the good thing is I don't have to remember it because somebody else is doing it. I just take the pieces. That's what I love, the magpie that I am. Piece, 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 mention it here. Whoosh! And then pick it up and go. Do something with it if you want to. And if not, just leave it, you know? That's what is inspiration for me. And that's how I work too. And I always laugh when I put on our recording, you know, and I look at other people's recordings, you know, they put, okay, exactly what has been spoken about, and then all the different, you know, emails and websites and, you know, all of that. And I'm like, I can't do this. And then I'm like, no, because if I like anyone on that show, I'll find that person, right? And we have our data everywhere. Everyone can find us. And that is part of the responsibility of the one who wants to work with us or with anyone, not just with us. You know, it's not that, you know, why make it so easy? Yeah, just, no, people want, Emma says, no, people just you just need to give them the link and then they click on it and that's it. And I'm like, that's too much work. If that's don't come, then I don't care. Because really, that's not how I work. If I want something, then I'll get it. So yeah, so this is just me making an excuse for not putting more information on those things, really. No, I'm truly, and this is obviously why, you know. But anyway, so did you enjoy it? Yeah.
Great.
What I wanted to say to add to what you're saying, Martina, is that if somebody I like the way you do it. I mean, if somebody needs to get or receive something, it will be synchronized to them somehow. They'll be able to find what they need. So you don't have to like project to them a link to follow this link or follow that link, because that might not be the thing that they need in their moment of now. So whatever they need, it will appear in their reality at the time that they need whatever it is that they need. That's the way I look at it.
And you, thanks for mentioning that, Lana. Of course, this is another reason, because this is how you really, if somebody really wants to work with you, then and really resonates with you, then it's easy peasy for them to do that, you know. And I think we've all been therapists of some kind and facilitators, and you know, the easier you make it, you do attract. You're absolutely right. People just come, they think, oh yeah, well, that's fun, but then they can't take your intensity, no, or they can't take the way you work. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with intensity.
No, it's
Different word, but passion, let's call it passion. You know, or depth or whatever,
no,
or just way of working, you know. So yeah, you're absolutely right. No.
It's what they need in the moment. Will the universe will synchronize that for them.
Yeah.
So by putting a link to something, you're like saying to them, hey, here is your link, go watch the video. And some people might watch it just because you had put it there and they felt like, well, I have to watch it because she put it there. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. You have to follow your own path, the path that's laid out for you by the divine source. And whatever the divine source wants for you will show up. You know, It will synchronize in your reality. I mean, that's the way I feel.
You know what I'm reminded of? I'm just thinking of a schnitzel as you're saying this. You know what a schnitzel is? Bread, you know, a schnitzel. And I'm like, here's the schnitzel. No, can you cut it for me? No. I can't cut it for you.
Can you please take off the breadcrumbs?
You know what? That's how I brought up my child as well. It's like, I show you how to do it because, you know, you can learn. This is how we learn, right? There are some people, they still cut the food for their kids. They're 7 years old. And I'm like, whoa, this is freaking me out.
Yeah.
Now I want to
Teach a person to fish and you feed them for life, right? Give the person the fish and you feed them for one day.
Exactly. So this is why we do what we do. Just a little side note.
Yeah. Well, and that's it, right? It's the continual awareness of what works for you, right? The continual awareness of what type of meditation works for you, what type of exercise, what type of food, right? We're all different. We all have different needs and different paths, although we come together to work together. I'm just grateful that we come together, you know, once a week or so to, you know, share what's been going on with each of our journeys, you know, and that allows that reflection, I think, the self-reflection.
Absolutely. Self-reflection, you know, inspiration and choice. Choose what works. If somebody watches this and it just got one sentence out of this, we've done the job, right? We've done our job. I mean, obviously, we had some fun doing it. So that's what work is like. Have some fun, and if somebody gets something, that's great. You know,
I feel that we come together because we prove that there is universal harmony. When we collect ourselves together and we come into the room, and it's the harmony of the universe that we are bringing together. And that's proving that we can all work together and not create war in the world and hatred and fear, but love and peace and harmony is the law of the universe. It is what we're supposed to be expressing to each and every one, to our neighbors, to our friends, to our family. It is imagining the new. It's not new. It is ancient of ancients, but somehow we forgot that that is what it's supposed to be. Because our universe is a universe of love. And if there's love, why is there disorder and disharmony? Love overcomes everything.
well, here you go. And of course, what comes in addition to that, beautifully said, is the diversity of our expressions. And what's the word? The resonance of the frequency with a different delivery. And this is what makes this whole thing interesting, because if we're all saying the same bloody thing, then we would not be able to do this for the 5th year, because we'll be bored shitless, right?
It's a diversity. It's a diversity of the same love. Diversity of the same love. Love has not changed. Love is still the love of the universal one. It's the oneness. But you took a different street and I took a different street, and Tanya took a highway and Sandrine took the stream in her boat and came down. And but we're all bringing love into the room, right? We don't fight with one another. We don't argue with one another. We're bringing that love together in the room each time we meet. So it's a diversity but still synchronicity of the one divine mind expressing itself through all of us in love and peace and harmony, not war and fear and destruction.
I
Thank you.
just, I just want to, you know, you mentioned the song Imagine earlier, Lana, and I just pulled up the lyrics and I just want to read them out real quick. So imagine
Yes, do
there's no
that.
heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion, too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Thanks, John Lennon. Thank you
Mhm.
from wherever you are.
Beautifully synchronized everything.
Yeah. He was bringing that love in from his stream of consciousness, and he left it with us, and we still use that today to remind ourselves that, hey, imagine that. Imagine a world as one. Everybody lives in peace and harmony. Beautiful.
Well, and when you use that light to guide you, you'll always find your way. You'll always find your way back
Yeah.
home.
We are the light. We're shining our
Mhm.
own flashlight in the world. And when all the flashlights come together, the whole world is bright.
Mm.
There's no darkness.
So I'm seeding that energy on this new moon that we live in
Exactly.
peace.
Yes.
People go through the healing they need to heal, healing the karma that needs to be healed, and coming back to that place of neutrality,
Yeah.
that celestial medium of peace.
There's only the one consciousness, and that one consciousness is love.
So let's keep
We're all
weaving.
one.
Let's keep weaving that tapestry.
Yeah.
Love in whatever form it shows itself, you know, and let's remind ourselves that we need balance.
Yeah.
As
Perhaps our future shows should be based on more on love, speaking more about love.
we will be doing more on the heart as I am working, you know, I want to find a slightly different angle on the heart activation and opening. That works for me. That gives us a bit more information from a galactic gateway perspective, embodied. And I'm gonna do some work with Isa on that. And then obviously I'm gonna bring that in. And then, you know, love, you know, my definition of love, it's the fabric of existence. So even the so-called negativity is an expression, a form of love. That's why neutrality and discernment and all of those goody things. But absolutely, you know, love is the fabric of existence. Love is consciousness, almost. You could say that. Love is awareness. It's just been bastardized too much for me to even use the word, because it's so not simplified, it's made so complicated, you know, and it's been woven into complex patterns, like relationships, like, you know, what love is supposed to be and what it's not. And as you say, Lana, it's so easy. There is only love.
That's right.
There is only consciousness. There is only that. And whatever else is just an experience that you are creating through with love. So yeah, but I want to bring more in with the heart and all of that as I'm going along. and you know, extracting more, you know, fleshy bits, the magpie that I am, and put it into our context, you know, and we're just going to take it and fly away with it, right?
If we focus more on love in all of our shows in the future, then that would really anchor, at least in our Zoom, that, you know, we are committing ourselves to be that love maker, that peacemaker, that harmonizer in the universe. And whatever little we do would ricochet out. And whomever is listening to that will start to pick up on that. And they will also anchor that foundation of love more in their reality. And so that would help the whole world. You know, that wave of love, that feminine energy of the moon, people will start to feel that, because I think people are yearning for that now, but they're not feeling it. You know, it's that yearning that's there, and it's not being fulfilled. You know, it's like you're starving for it, and it's one step away from you, and you can't pull it in. You can't hang on to it. As soon as you feel you got it, it's gone again. And I'm not talking about man and woman kind of love. I'm talking about the real godly love, the peaceful love, the universal love, you know, the divine love, that spiritualness in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've been doing that all along,
Yeah.
right?
We're doing
Allowing the space for that to come through.
Well, now it's the time. I think it's time that we expand on that a little more, right? Talk about it more, making it more aware.
I mean, the thing, and I totally hear you, Lana, and you're right. There is an opening of that compassion and
Yeah.
art space that is happening at the moment. So we will be talking more and more about that. And we might use different words for it. We might use different concepts for it. She's going, okay, love you. Okay, bye. You know what I mean, Lana? So because like Tanya says, this is what we're all about. We're breathing, so we are love. You know, this is for me, it's so super fucking simple, because it's a bit like I've cleared everything when it comes to love. I have redefined it to such an extent that every single motion in this universal, galactic, earthly experience is a part of love. So as long as we are talking, as long as we're getting together, gathering, having fun, being blissful, celebrate, talk about our stuff, our inspirations, and our failures as well, if we want to, or worries, then we're doing the work of love. But I hear you, Lana, and there is stuff. And this is where I think where the heart that is so connected to love is going to come in more and more and more. Because even I am now saying, okay, let's talk about this heart thing, but let's look at it from a different perspective other than the lovey-dovey stuff. I want a bit more meat. When our shows are full of meat. I mean, I'm a meat eater. I need stuff. I need different things on that plate. I can't just talk about mashed potatoes. It's too boring. So we need to bring in more information. So let's all be magpies. Let's all gather what's coming in. And you're right, there is more coming in. Let's talk about all of this, like 90, percent tilt. I mean, that interests me. What does that mean? Things like that. And then we can put it together in a different concept. And how does that make us feel? Because that's always connected to love as well, right? And how do we cultivate, navigate, explore, celebrate that love that we are? So thanks for that, Lana. Yes, we will do more and more on that. And of course, as always, Suggestions are welcome, you know, and throw them out, throw them in, pop them in, and then we're just gonna work with it, and we can do some exploration, because that's what we're doing. We're exploring consciousness, meaning we're exploring love at the end of the day. That's what we're doing. And on
I
that
mean, I
note,
get what you were saying, Tanya, that that's what we've been doing all the while, but we haven't really been we've been coming together, and it is love that brings us together for one another and the world, but we haven't been talking about it, like what is it really, and how can we explain it in our different perspective or different ways, so that someone who might just be listening to the show get a little bit broader perspective in their own personal life, to imagine a world that is more of love, like the John Lennon song, right? So I think that's what I'm really trying to say. Like, let's talk about what love is more, rather than just coming together and experiencing it amongst ourselves, right?
yeah, I mean, we can run a whole show. We've done before, Lana. We've talked about love a lot, right? Before, but we can come in with a fresh perspective
Yeah,
and
bring
really,
it back in again, you know?
yeah, bring it back in again, and really acknowledge that we have now become the emanation of love.
Of love, exactly.
Everyone who sees us can perceive that we are loved, because we're all coming from this loving, caring, space holding place. So it's like, what did we say early on? Stories no longer need to be repeated if it has been healed.
Right.
Whatever was in that story. So we've become that now. And this is probably partly why we no longer have to talk about it. But I totally get what you're saying. And there is an element that we can bring back in from a fresh angle.
Yeah. Yep.
Good. Fantastic. Well, on that note, I love you.
I love you too, all of you.
Have fun shedding your skin this month.
Yes, let's shed our skin. All right, let's go and have a schnitzel. I need schnitzel
That's
now.
right. Me too. Me too, after all the talk.
Yes,
Bye.
guys.
Love
Thanks
y'all.
for, yeah,
Bye.
yeah. Bye.